In this video, I'll talk about 10 things that you should consider before even applying for admission. So you may be thinking about applying for admission for 2025, or you are even, planning to apply for 2026. So this video is for you. You don't just jump and start applying for any kind of program. Sometimes you don't even know how to start. You just, graduated and you're thinking about it. I want to study in Canada, but what are some of the things that I should think about? How do I even get started? I don't know anything about the process. If that is you, then this video is for you. If you already know a few things about the process, this video is just for you because I will talk about all of the things that you should consider before hitting that application. You know how all of the process works, from the document or the school searching and the province. These are all of the things that I will be covering in this video. The number one thing you want to consider, I want to apply, when you're thinking about it, I want to go to school in Canada, they can also apply to other schools in Europe, in US, as the case may be. You want to ask yourself, what program matches my education and my work experience? I will give you an example. If you just finished your secondary school and you're planning to apply for a diploma program, you can basically apply for, I would say, any kind of program. If you are in the science area, you go for science courses. If you're in the social science, in the arts area, you go for social science courses. So no too much big deal. You just finish your secondary school and you want to go into a diploma in engineering, bachelor's in engineering, provided you're in the science area, you don't need complicated motivation for that. Your motivation is just that, by science student, you want to go into engineering. That is basically your motivation. It can be, some experiences you've had working with technology and the art area, but anything for bachelor's, diploma, not too much complications. If you just graduated from the university, let's say you studied accounting, okay? Now you're thinking about, I want to do master's. So it is imperative for you to apply for a program that relates to what you just studied. If you completed master's, if you completed accounting and you want to apply for master's in accounting, master's in finance, MBA, those are all related area. Good. If let's say you did engineering, BSc, and now you just graduated, all of a sudden you'll be like, you know what? I want to go do master's in finance. So you can see now that there's really no correlation because you just graduated. Everything in your head is all about engineering. What are you going to do with finance? So that does not match. Okay, so if you just graduate, you have to think about the course that relates to what you just studied. Now, if you've done a bachelor's and you want to do a diploma program, you don't do it in the same thing. Bachelor's in electrical and electronics engineering, then you want to go do diploma in electrical and electronics engineering. It doesn't match. If you don't bachelor's in engineering, but you want to do diploma in, let's say, computer engineering, or a diploma in just power systems or anything niched, that is fine. Because when you are thinking about a course, you want to think about the end goal in mind. What story am I going to tell to the visa officer as far as this application is concerned? Now, there are other set of persons that they've graduated, like, let's say, 5, 10 years ago, 7, 10 years ago. Now they want to come back to school. In cases like that, you don't want to focus on, this is what I studied, I want to go back to what I studied. Let's say you did engineering, and after like 5, 10 years, you'll be working in the bank. All of a study, after 7 years, you say, I want to go back to master's in civil engineering. How are you going to tell a story? It's going to be very tough to convince the visa officers about that. In cases like that, you have to think about, okay, none of them, I've been working in the business in sector for a long time. They want to do an MBA. They want to do masters in management, masters in strategic leadership, project management. So the only thing about the courses that relate to what you're currently doing. So that is the first thing. Courses that matches what I'm currently doing or my work experience. It depends on the scenario. The second thing is going to be, what is my GPA? Because your GPA, your graduating GPA, some places will see you will use cumulative weights average, that CWA or something like that. That will go a long way to decide what you're going to qualify for. In Canada, masters are very, very competitive. A lot of schools will tell you need to have a minimum of 3.0 out of 4.0 GPA to apply for masters. Okay, you will see that a lot. Minimum of B average, so very competitive. So if you're for those that have like 5.0 GPA, that is an average of second class upper, from 3.5 upward, okay? That is kind of close to a 3.0 out of 4.0 GPA. It's around 3.6 out of 5.0 equivalent. So if you have a low GPA, like a second class lower, most of the schools in Canada will not give you admission. I've done a video where I talked about few schools that will give you, not really give you admission, they are worth considering if you have a low, like a second class upper and you still want to do masters, right? University of Niagara Falls, Northwestern University, and then you can also check out the University Canada was this up to date, okay? So, but I've seen cases where people that had second class lower got admitted into these particular universities. Now, if you are looking for scholarship, I don't want to discourage you. You can shoot your shot, but it is very difficult to get a scholarship if you have second class lower. Okay, very difficult. I don't even think I've seen anyone that got scholarship with a second class lower in Canada. Okay, if you want to shoot a shot and give it a try for that. Now, another thing, if you think your GPA, especially depending on the area, okay, if you study something like biochemistry bachelor's, there is no course-based biochemistry, right? Most of the biochemistry, chemistry, microbiology, they are mostly research-based. So as I said, it depends on what you studied, right? If you study pharmaceutical science and you want to do masters, most of those areas are mostly, in Canada at least, mostly research-based. And research-based, their requirement are mostly 3.0 out of 4.0, which is equivalent to second class upper GPA. Another thing, if you don't qualify for masters, then you can think about colleges, because whether you have, third class, second class, or second class upper, and you want to go for colleges, you will still be eligible. A lot of the schools will give admission for colleges. Their admission requirements are not that complicated, so you can apply for just ordinary diploma, or you can apply for postgraduate diploma. If you're applying for an ordinary diploma, make sure you still use your bachelor's to apply, except you just finish your high school and you want to apply with your high school. Also include your transcript, the certificate, and all of this information. And in the choice of program, make sure you apply for a program that is going to advance what you're currently doing. If you've done, let's say, bachelor's of education, now you want to specialize in early childhood education. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. So think about the story that you want to tell. It must match. The visa officer have to see it as a career progression, especially when you're going for a diploma, because now it's more like a lower degree, but if you can convince them about the story, it's still very, very feasible. Now, I know this is a lot, it's complicated, but if you're looking for somebody to talk to one-on-one, Alpha, a one-on-one mentorship program, there's going to be a link in the description. Check out my website, reach out to me. I'll be glad to assist you and to look at the profile and suggest the best option for you. The third thing you want to consider is, do I want to try the scholarship route or the self-funding? Scholarship route, it depends mostly on, number one, your GPA. Your GPA need to be second class upper, like high, minimum of 3.5 out of 5.0 or 3.0 out of 4.0, okay? It also depends on what you study, right? Not all of the programs, not all areas offer scholarship. Areas like finance, there are less scholarship in those areas. Some of the social science, psychology, sociology, there are some master scholarship in those areas. For self-funding, there are no scholarship at all. If you want to go for colleges do not offer funding. So you have to think about your GPA and decide whether I want to pursue scholarship or not. Now, the next fourth thing to consider is, if I'm thinking about the scholarship route, Now, there are two things. Masters, if you're doing masters or PhD, the schools will tell you need to get a supervisor before you apply. Some say you don't need to get a supervisor before you apply. You can list the names of the professors you want to work with in your admission application. Then the professors will review application. If they see you are a great man, they will accept you. You will get funding. You don't apply for the funding separately. Okay, when you apply for the admission, they will ask you, do you want to be considered for funding? You click on yes, good. You'll be considered for funding for the pro courses that are research based. Okay. If you'll be required to get a supervisor, if you're not required to get a supervisor, so if you're required to get a supervisor, now when you reach out to the supervisor, like you have to send like tons of emails. If you see a particular professor that accepts you, that professor will now give you, funding opportunities. It will not come with your admission offer. So these are some of the things you now discuss with the professor. When they agree to accept it, do you have full funding available? Some professors will have partial funding available. So you now have to look at your pocket and see, is it something that I will be able to do? But if you are thinking about colleges or course-based, then they don't require to get supervisor. I've seen a few course-based that will still require to get a supervisor, but this is a little bit easier because they are not really giving you funding. They just want to supervise you. These are the professors that will supervise your project in the course-based program. Majority don't require, but there are a few of them that require. So that's why you have to do a little bit of research to know if they require those supervisors or not. Then the other fifth question you want to ask yourself is, do I have preference for a particular province? Am I worried about cost of living? Because usually places like Ontario, British Columbia, relatively they have the highest cost of living as far as Canada is concerned, right? So if you don't want to, if you're looking for a lesser cost of living, then you want to think about not British Columbia, Newfoundland, New Brunswick, and also I would say Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, at least those ones are a little bit better for cost of living. Cost of living is relative. You can be living in Newfoundland and you're getting I want to live your big man life. You can get there are 1-bedroom apartment in Newfoundland for that'll be up to like 1,500, right? You're on 2,000 depending on how you want to, if you're looking for a luxury, right? So even in a place with low cost of living, people can still do wasabi and be living above, beyond their means. So you want to think about that. Now, if you're thinking about province, then you want to think about, in terms of scholarship, there is really no province that is better to say, oh, this one is better for scholarship, or this one accept international students more. So it doesn't work like that. It's mostly cost of living and then maybe permanent residency opportunities. Some provinces are a little bit easier to get like provincial nomination. Most of the Atlantic province, Newfoundland, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, maybe Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, a little bit better for provincial nomination when you graduate. Although Ontario still have, and British Columbia, they have their graduate streams and all that. So you want to think about that. The sixth thing you want to think about is, this program, is it eligible for post-graduation work permit? This is only for those that want to study and stay in Canada. If you want to study and leave, go back to your own country, this doesn't really affect you. So you want to think about that, especially for college programs. Again, not all programs are eligible for post-graduation work permit for college programs. But if you're doing bachelor's, you are not affected. Any bachelor's course eligible for work permit, any master's course eligible for work permit, any PhD course eligible for post-graduation work permit. The seventh thing you want to consider is, what start date am I looking at? Start date can be January or winter. We also have spring or May. Then we also have September, which is a fall start date. Okay. Now, I usually recommend and advise people apply start thinking about your stuff 8 months or even 1 year before you start, right? You don't want to, let's say you want to apply for a January start date and then you are stressing yourself about it in November, right? It's really too short because you will need admission time and then you need time to apply for visa. So you have to start planning about the start date ahead of time. The reason is because of the 8th point. The 8th point is going to be the admission deadline. Okay. Universities and colleges have different deadlines. Universities usually have, stricter and much, I would say earlier deadlines. For example, if you want to apply for September start date, then most of the schools will have that deadline for December, the previous year, January and February for universities for either bachelor's or master's or PhD. But for colleges, even though it's for September, by April, you can still apply for admission, right? March, April, maybe sometimes May, you can still apply for admission for September if it is still open, depending on the program type, okay? Now, most of the schools for university have that deadline like 6 months, 6 to 8 months to the start of the program. So you want to, if you are searching for a course, go and check the deadline. Okay, check the deadline as it passed. They are passed, which schools are now available, because once the deadline has passed, that is a set. You are doing a research-based program and you've already gotten a supervisor. When you get a supervisor, even though the deadline has passed, you can still apply for admission. Like in my own case, your supervisor can talk with the department and they will allow you to somehow apply. Maybe they can give you a link, or if your study is supposed to be May and it's closed, your supervisor can tell you apply for September. Then your supervisor can follow up with the department to shift the start date much earlier. But if you don't have to get a supervisor, you cannot do that. So think about the deadline way ahead. The 19, you want to think about what are the necessary documents that are needed for admission. Basic one, transcript, certificate, international passport, basic one, and your resume, of your CV, of course, academic CV. And then some programs will require to get GMA, GRE, especially those Masters of Management and some, engineering and computer science related stuff. They ask you to write GRE, but they have to find out if it's something that they can waive. Okay, there are some that they don't waive, especially for the MBA. Although there are a few schools that give MBA without GMA. So if you are thinking about that, maybe you think about a program that does not offer, that does not require GRE, right? Then some programs will require to have a writing sample. That writing sample sometimes can be maybe your project that you did, maybe the literature review part if you wrote a paper. But sometimes because this paper is a combination of efforts from different people, it's not just you that wrote it, so it may not be the best writing sample, right? So think about something you wrote by yourself, like 5-6 pages. It can be an article that you wrote alone. Those are good writing sample. Then statement of purpose, right? Statement of purpose is where you talk about all of the reason why you're starting the course. This is a very important part of the application process, especially when everybody have the same GPA, right? Maybe you have like 20 applicants that have the same GPA. The difference now going to be the quality of that statement of purpose. Sometimes statement of purpose, statement of intent, they are basically all the same things. And then think about recommendation letters. Most colleges don't require that for master's, PhD. They require recommendation letters. The way it works these days is that you have to, they'll ask you to provide the email of the professor they want to use as referees. Then they will send the link to those professors to fill out their reference form. That's actually how that works. Lastly, but not the least, number 10, you have to ask yourself, how am I going to fund my studies? The particular program I'm applying for, does it require me to pay a tuition deposit? Some deposit can be as high as $10,000. Most universities will tell you maybe pay, depending on this university, they pay first semester or pay $500, $1,000, depending on them. Some will say pay $2,000 as the case may be. Most of the colleges will tell you to pay like $9,000, $5,000, depending on their situation. So I have to ask yourself, where are the funds available? Then you have, based on the funds available, you now want to think about the cost of the program. You want to look for schools that are a little bit affordable. What is my budget? Then you can plan and search based on tuition range. And then lastly, you want to think about visa application. Don't apply for admission without thinking about visa application. Think about who's going to sponsor me. What funds? Who's going to sponsor me? Think about that first. I'm telling you now because you get admission. Sometimes it's like 3 months to the start date. Sometimes you are not planning an application like 3 months, you will now have like 1 month to plan your visa application. By then, maybe the bank statement they want to use is just up and down, that problematic. The funds are going up and down. You see, you need to plan it for 6 months so that by the time you print your 6 months bank statement, it makes sense, it's convincing to the visa officer. You have a lot of funds there. If anybody wants to sponsor you, your uncle, your aunt, your parents, your siblings, discuss with them ahead of time. Then you can see if they have a stable account. I've done multiple videos about what to think about in terms of proof of funds. So think about, listen to that video as much as possible and ask the person you want to use as a sponsor. What did they do? What are some of the documents you have? And then plan based on that. And once you've done all of this, then you can apply for admission, pay the application fees, and start the process. So once again, thank you so much for watching this video. If you're looking for somebody to talk to one-on-one, I know this process can be very complicated, but I have a one-on-one mentorship program. Check out my mentorship program. There's going to be a link in the description. Check it out. Reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you in this process. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, do it to hit the subscribe button and leave a comment in the comment section. Which part of this resonates with you? You have challenged with any of the part? Leave the comment in the comment section and then let me know where are you watching from, Nigeria, US, Ghana. Just let me know in the comment section where you're watching from. And if you appreciate the work I'm doing, leave a comment and say thank you, Peter. Just make sure you don't leave this video without at least dropping a comment. And any question you have about your admission, visa application, anything, put it in the comment section and let me know which stage are you now in the whole Canada journey. Put it in the comment section and then I'll be glad, I'll respond to as many as possible. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.